The people that are residing in excellence, the students of mine that have discovered their model, they don't even follow me on Twitter. They don't watch my videos anymore. They found their model. They're living their life and they're doing exceedingly well. And I'm very proud. And I don't need them to constantly give me any feedback or report cards. They said, look, this is where I'm at now. Thank you so much. I just can't imagine where my life's going to take me, but I'm excited. And they're done. They're not working anymore. They're making fortunes of real, not demo dollars, baby, not demo, and they're not trading funded accounts. I'm talking real cash, real money. And they don't give a shit about what I'm doing on Twitter anymore. And I don't feel bad about that. I don't feel like, but you don't love me anymore. You don't worship me. You don't raise flags and make a ticker parade about me. That's not what this is about. It's never been about that. I want you to get to the point where you can say, you know what, Michael? I listened to all your shit. Okay. I had to go through a lot of shit to figure out what it is I should be trading. And I got it now. Thank you so much. It's been real, but I got to go. See ya. That's exactly what I want all of you to do. I don't want you to feel tethered to me or need to feel tethered. I read people commenting in tweets saying, they're depressed or they're anxious or they're upset and they're lonely and they're going to miss me already. I don't want you to feel that way. I've given you enough right now. If I stop, you have plenty, but I have more I'm going to share. I'm going to teach you very specific things. And once you understand them, that's where you take your attention. That's where you take your devotions. Each day you study and you make whatever you describe as excellence, whatever that destination is for you. It may be leaving your job and just matching what you make at your job. And that is excellence. Because now you're not relying on someone else to pay you, to feed you and your family, to tell you when you can and can't. That, to me, is excellence. And then you get to that point and you think to yourself, well, I've only had to do this much to get to this point. What happens when I now apply the new experience over 3 years now doing it? I'm going to apply a new measure of commitment to it. And I'm going to start broadening my efforts and doing a little bit more than I'm used to. Not overnight trying to make $1 million, but just slowly growing into your new self. Remember, before that ugly ass caterpillar turned into that butterfly, it had to die as a caterpillar. And it was very ceremonial. It wraps itself up in its silken web, cocoon itself, and then it dies as a caterpillar. It closes itself off to the world. That's exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Right now, you're all bookworms. You're caterpillars. You can't fly, but you want to, and you want to be beautiful in your sight and everyone else's sight. But you have to seclude yourself. Once you get the information, whatever that information is that you want to focus on and specialize in, that I'm teaching you, it may not be day trading, it may be short-term trading. It may be crypto stuff, even though I don't like it. It might be that's where you're going to be. You may be the next legend in that asset class. Learning from me, doing the things I'm teaching, you may become the most widely respected and looked up to individual in the industry. Who says that you aren't or couldn't be? You're the one that's going to stop you. And you're the one that's going to fuel that. But you have to be able to segregate yourself from the influence of social media and negativity and things that are really just a waste of time. A waste of time and energy and effort. When you're devotional to studying, putting yourself in front of the charts, reading price action, whether it be live or in hindsight, you have to continuously make that investment. And it will yield limitless fruits. Even the smallest of experience, whether good or bad, in the proper learning environment, yields so much in the future that you can't understand or appreciate right now. The things I've learned, the painful lessons I've learned, many times come up in trade. Like for instance, the trade I did yesterday. When I was in that trade, reaching for that 44.93 and 3/4, I wanted to see it trade up in the weekly volume and bounce. That's really what I was trying to reach for, but I knew everybody would see right away the 16th of June 2023's high for ES. And obviously above an old high, that'd be liquidity, buy side liquidity. But while I was in that trade over 3 hours long or so, my mind reverted back to either painful experiences I've endured because I've seen so much price action, so many different markets, so many different time frames, so many opportunities, so many stellar executions, just really phenomenal entries and just managing the positions. I've seen many of that over 3 decades. But in between all that, there's a laced layer of failures, losing, blown accounts, depression, regret, all those things. And I remember all that stuff while I'm watching price action. And sometimes it can be a distraction. Sometimes it can be an encouragement where I'll watch something in price action and it'll remind me of something I did before. Now, I don't go out thinking about, oh, remember that time I was trading copper and it did this? I don't physically go into that vault in my memory and say, let me dig that out. It's just when I see something in price action, it makes me remember that event because it was impactful. It was either a win or it was a debilitating loss. And you're gonna have a whole memory bank of that. As you go forward in your career, you're gonna have that same thing happen. And for people that say you shouldn't journal, it's a stupid waste of time. It's dumb to do that. I'm an alpha. I don't do that shit. I'm out here to make money and look at me. I promise you, those individuals are not. They are not as organized as they pretend to be. You're not seeing all their trades. They're a wreck emotionally while they're in a trade. And here's the telltale sign. Look at the average length of trade if they make that available to you. Most of them won't, especially now. Now that I'm talking about it like this, you'll never see them want to share that. If you're comfortable, and this is what you want to be, when you're at your destination of excellence, you're not in a hurry. You're not in a hurry. Once you mature to a point in study that it's just a matter of time, you're going to get what you're looking for. You want to leave your job, it's going to fucking happen. You can't set a date for it, though. That's the mistake. That's the mistake I tried to do. I tried to say, okay, I want to be done working at this time. But now it was 20 years in advance, that far out. I had 20 years. That was my retirement. At 40, I want to retire. I don't want to be working anymore at 40 years old. I was a 20-year-old thinking that. And at the time, and looking back now, I still think that as a realistic objective. About 6 weeks or so, maybe. About 7 weeks or so. Off the top of my head, I can't think. August 8th, I'll turn 51 years old. And I can tell you, as a 51-year-old, thinking about how I thought as a 20-year-old, the timeline that I first started with, that was realistic. Now, that's not to say that you learning from me is going to take you 20 years, because a lot of people like to troll that bullshit, but their students don't bring their fruits. You don't see anybody making $500,000. Okay. You don't see these other people out there making millions of dollars. You don't see it. So when you waste your time listening to that stuff, what you're doing is you're looking for perfect excuses why you shouldn't study, why you shouldn't put in the time. One of the best gifts I'm going to give you is to walk away in November, because many of you just simply want to collect. You want to collect new gadgets, new methods. And that is in itself a deterrent from you growing. You have enough. You have more than enough. But because you're constantly addicted to the new voodoo that I'm releasing, everybody wants to be on the bandwagon when the new thing pops out and they want to have a conversation about it. That's great. I mean, I'm going to lie and say I'm not, thrilled to see people's interest in it, but it becomes and takes on this. It's a distraction, and I created it. And I can tell you honestly, the way people take the things I release, they make it like I don't know. I don't even know the word I'm looking for. It escapes me, but yeah, I guess it would be called like it's called like yeah. I'm just gonna be honest. That's what it is. Whenever I drop something new, whenever I teach something new, you know, there's a large portion of our community that just goes berserk. And initially it's funny, yeah. But I can be honest and practical and tell you that as a teacher, as a mentor, I have so many more things. If I stayed around and kept releasing stuff, many of you would never settle in on just what you have and work with that because you think that there's something else out there. Look at that. I mean, he released a silver bullet. Look at that. It's perfect. It's time. I know when it's going to form. And for many, that was a big concern. Like, when does it form? When do these order blocks? What's the right order block? Because really, what you're asking is, what is the setup that's never going to take a loss, and I can trust that it's going to move in the right direction that bias is indicating? Well, here's the thing. I only have things that go in a 90%, but there's 10% likelihood I'm going to fail at it. The, the trade won't go exactly where I want it to. It might go in a position or a trade movement that'll allow me to take profit, but it doesn't go always to my best case target. Now, a best case target is just that, it's best case. But I have conditioned myself over 30 years to take enough and be content with that, and then leave something there in the event that my ego and pride needs to have itself massaged. If it goes there, great. If it doesn't, I can cope with the fact that it can go there. That's a skill set that I had to condition myself with. And I teach it that way to you because I know a lot of you, especially the men, and many of them won't admit to this, but they can't take losing. They can't take missing a move. They can't take getting stopped out. If I get stopped out and the trade's still valid, you've watched me do this. You've seen me do it. If I get stopped out, okay, no problem. I'm going right back in again. I got 81 ways to get into it, and I ain't worried about it. I don't need my favorite song to dance. All I'm looking for is a reason to justify a trade still being valid. And that's all you're doing. But what is it that you're complicating it with? You're trying to bring everything. You're trying to bring everything that I've ever talked about, and probably some of the stupid shit that you bring in, like I tried to bring in when I first started. But I really like bull flags. I really like bull flags. I want to put this in. No, I lost money trading bull flags, even in bull markets. Where was I losing that at? When it would trade down into a BISI. Yeah, look at them. Many times they look just like that. And I thought that they were bull flags. No. And when I would get stopped out, I'd be afraid to get back in because I thought it was a collapsed bull flag. That means it's bearish. No, the only thing it did was trade down into its inefficiency, into an order block. It shot past what would otherwise be viewed as initially a bull flag and then ran real quick. Well, at that point, I'm demoralized. What's going on here? I'm doing something wrong. I'm doing something wrong. They're teaching me the incorrect stuff, and I'm trying to do this, and I can't win. I can't win. And then I would project that in my personal life, in my relationship with my girlfriend, in relationships with the places that I would be employed, trying to wrestle myself away from it. When I was doing the vending job while I was trading, I would speed and drive recklessly just to get to a payphone. Sounds like Superman, don't it? But back then, that's the way it was. We didn't have cell phones. So when the market was showing me on my quote track, this is where price is at. The Swiss franc is trading here. You better get in there and do what you got to do. Well, there's cars in front of me, just like it is when you get up late for work and there's more traffic. than you expected or anticipated. And you know you're going to be late. Or you can't get there in time to stand in front of the water cooler to talk the bullshit you saw on TV last night, or the sports event that somebody did something stupid. That pressure to be where you want to be, but you're being hindered. I did all that stuff too. I did all that stuff. And I used all of the things that I endured that were problematic, painful, and growing pains, really what they were. But I would take that and project it into my personal life. And I was not a pleasant person to be around. I was not. And I realized that I had to cocoon myself. I had to cut myself away from everybody. No relationships, no friends, no weekend life, nothing but the price charts and the markets. The market is a cruel lover. She demands all of your attention. And she wants you to love her for abusing you. And it's a very difficult thing to accept. That yes, when she's in the right mood, she'll give everything you want and more. But sometimes, she's going to abuse you. And if you love her, you'll still be there for her. You'll endure, even though it many times feels like a toxic relationship, for better or worse, you're there. And that's what I basically did when I was a young man. And it was hard for my wife now to accept that. My children grew up in that. But excellence costs. It costs a lot more than you think it's going to. And when you come into this industry and you learn from me or someone else, and they know what they're doing, and you, in your ignorance, you demand, like that young man in the Jade Master's parable. He went to that master thinking he knows how to be trained when he had no idea what he's doing. That's arrogance. That's pride. That's ego. And it's really dangerous when you're stupid. And I was like that. I expected to be able to walk out there because I read books and books and books, so many fucking books. And every time I've read one, every time I saw something new, that was it. That was the thing. That's the thing I've been waiting for. That's the one thing. No, that's just the next thing I'm going to spend more time and attention on instead of worrying about me. Every time I've blown it, every time I've blown an account, every time I've wrecked a really good winning trade, otherwise, if I would have just took partials, managed it correctly, even though it didn't get to a target level I was looking for, because that's what I wanted. I wanted to be right. And you can't equate being correct or right as excellence. I'm going to say it again. Being right, having it go exactly how you want it to go, that is not excellence. That's perfection. There's a difference there. Two different destinations, okay? Heaven is perfection. And if you're hearing me right now, you ain't there. Excellence is doing that which should be done, preserving what you have, and not demanding more than what would be required to define it as contentment.